That's not the object of the exercise, but we are going to do a little bit of it. But I suppose the obvious question is, you know, you're both great musicians and you're both good friends, so the pairing wasn't that difficult to understand as to why it came about.
It was a long time coming, though.
Yeah, yeah.
We've known each other since the early 70s. In fact, Rory Gallagher introduced us back in...
An award ceremony, wasn't it? Yeah, in about 75, was it?
Late
Starlight Music Magazine. Was it the Starlight Magazine or Starlight Ballroom?
No, Starlight.
It was a magazine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was Starlight. It was Spotlight originally, and then it became
then
Starlight.
Starlight. Yeah.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah.
We were in good company that day. It was. I remember there was. Rory was there, Van Morrison, yourselves, the Chieftains, even the Bay City
Rollers, I think we're getting,
Of course, they were the rage at the time, weren't they? 75, they were on their way to being one of the hottest.
Oh, yeah.
Which was absolutely superb. Let's talk about the different type of bands, because in the late 60s, early 70s, into the 70s, Miami were the biggest show band. Yeah. Horsehips came along sort of at the tail end of that and laid the foundations for something that is absolutely amazing, even to this stage.
Yeah, Horsehips. I think I suppose they kind of bucked the system a little bit, but they laid the foundations for Irish rock, really, you know, and what was to come kind of later in the 80s. But the Horsehips were the first band really to kind of to break into the ballrooms as well, like as a major rock act, as a rock act, as a rock act. So it was kind of, you know, it was a new thing.
At the time, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, Jared Doom, when it struck out, I mean, it was like it just drove people into a frenzy. And I mean, it's hard to believe that you know, you hear different stories about how the band came together, advertising execs leading a band early in the afternoon, the foremost part, before the music side of it kicked in.
In the early days, yeah. Like 3 of the lads worked in an advertising agency in Dublin, and the band sort of started there, like with Charles, Eamon, and Barry working together, and then they met up with Jimmy. I was the last to join the band.
That's right,
you know, the definitive lineup, as it were, you know. I joined the band in October of '72, just before the first album was recorded.
And I mean, there was a huge element of glam rock as well. I mean,
there was in the early days, yeah.
And there was,
There was a lot
sweet at looking on you, you know, sort of at one point.
Lots of flash suits, and yeah, there was actually, because '72 was like the era, like '72, '73, sort of David Bowie and T-Rex and people like that, you know. So like it was very much the fashion was.
I think in the documentary there was one clip from was it the National Stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right. The outfits were pretty.
I mean, you were rocking, as they say. When you look back, but then of course in those days that was the way it was done. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And you were pioneers here.
In this, I think we were definitely, without a doubt, yeah.
And when people look back at Horsehips, they often say, there was still more to do, and there's still that question about why it didn't translate abroad as much as it should have.
It should have, yeah. And the fact that the band broke up in 1980, you know, and didn't sort of continue into the 80s, and I suppose the fact as well, kind of, that's where you two kind of picked up
took the mantle and ran,
you know, that kind of thing. No, but you know, but I reckon there was still a number of years, you know, left, and you know, definitely in the band, you know. But like the 80s was again a very different style of music, and it certainly wasn't Horsehips style, you know, like the new wave thing and that, you know, it certainly wouldn't have been. But I mean, there's lots of other bands that have kind of rode out the storm there.
Absolutely,
you know, like, I mean, it's a fad, whatever, you know. So I mean,
and I think when you got back together that concert, I think you were amazed. You were amazed. Now, the Miami is still a huge story with all its nuances, and I mean, that the huge tragedy that engulfed the band, it was in '75, everybody remembers. It was 75 or 76?
75.
It was 75, yeah, that summer. Everybody, I think I was 13 at the time, and I remember listening to Charles Mitchell reading the story on the news, and it was like, what happened? And even though you didn't know about the band, suddenly, later everyone was singing that Love Is, a wonderful song with the late Fran O'Toole, which was fantastic. So, I mean, you were not only the country's leading band at the time, but you had to go through this as well.
Yeah, I mean, it overshadows the fact that the band was somebody like Fran O'Toole, his talent, you know, so a story like that. I remember Phil Lynott told me one time that he thought that Fran was Ireland's greatest ever soul singer. You know, he was also a fabulous keyboard player. Tony Geraghty, as Johnny would tell you, was an incredible guitar player. A lot of the guys in the band at that time came from beat groups. So although I'm known for a show band. We came through the
You had that, yeah, of course you had that.
Yeah.
You had that. Now, you're putting the book together, it's almost done. Now, we're not going to talk about the book, but to say that you'll come back in September when it's released. Is there anything you want to mention about it, though?
Well, it's been released, it's been launched by Albert Reynolds on September the 11th, and I'm in estate, in Eason's number 1 Dawson Street. And I'd like to see all of the lads. I've been trying to get in touch with people, the lads that did the concert in Vicar Street.
Yes.
So if they're watching this morning, just make sure you turn up, fellas, because I don't know all the addresses to send out the invites.
Okay, that get in touch. The Vicar Street thing, is there another one?
I don't think so.
No?
It was a one-off.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
Great night.
It's a pity.
Yeah, great night.
Yeah, I remember listening to the radio the next day and calls for the DVD, and it has to be done in another concert because it captures the essence of the time. And of course, the music was brilliant.
It was, and show bands were a great training ground for all of the young musicians. That's gone now, so you don't have that kind of apprenticeship anymore, you know?
Bloody discos. Before we play us out, we're going to talk, there's a couple of gigs coming up. We'll mention them in a minute. But what is this? Blendi's got to provide a bit of percussion.
It's a cajon. It's called a cajon. It's basically comes from Peru. They use a lot in flamenco music.
Okay, give it just a belt there before you join up with the lads. This sound is fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, gigs coming up. The Madison in Dublin this Friday, or is it Friday week?
24th.
24th, yeah.
The Barn McHugh's in Ennis in County Clare, Saturday, September 22nd. 2 gigs to look forward to. And I'd say once you're out, they're out for any amount of time, the bookings are going to come in. You're going to have to be a little selective about where you go to because I'd say there'll be huge demand. Ticket number there, 496-0794. It's a Dublin number, 496-0794. What are you going to play for us?
We're going to do a song called The Berlin Wall, which is one I've been doing for many years. I recorded it back, not with Horses, but in the early 80s with a band called the St. Alligators.
I remember the St. Alligators as well. Yeah. Fantastic.
So,
okay, take it, because this is a huge treat.
1, 2, 3, 4. Radio Free Europe, say they're getting through. Listen to me, people, tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. Words mean nothing, but the truth is standing tall. Communication, say they're getting strong. Listen to me, people, ain't gonna be too long. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. Words mean nothing, but the truth is standing tall. All around the world, and you know it's true. If you put a 1 in, you gotta take out 2. Reap what you sow, what you feel. If you see me coming, then you know I will. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. I'm gonna tear down the Berlin Wall. Words mean nothing, but the truth is standing tall.